So let's bring in Jim Salisbury to get his thoughts on all this, because it is time for our usual updates, our Thursday updates with Jim. Jim, welcome in. We're talking through, after a fantastic win yesterday, there's not a lot of negatives to take from the Phillies. They're obviously a rainy, sloppy game at times on both sides. And one of those players that we saw have some errors, Johan Rojas. Yoho struggled. I know you can look at both of those and maybe the second one worse than the first, but consistently, have you noticed any issues or maybe dips in how Yoro has been playing at center field? He's fast, he's aggressive, and sometimes maybe too fast. What are your thoughts on Yoro's play at center field?
Yeah, first of all, I thought last night was a sloppy game all the way around. I just thought the Mets were a lot sloppier than the Phillies. The Phillies made mistakes in the field on the bases. Um, Even Suarez wasn't as sharp as he has been, though he has set an incredibly high bar, and he's still delivered. I think the Phillies played over some mistakes last night, and the Mets certainly made a lot more mistakes. It was kind of, as I was watching that game, it struck me. We've talked a lot about how the Phillies have just, beaten up on bad teams. And, I've always been a guy that says you can only play one team that night. They really haven't been tested, a lot of sub 500 teams. But boy, I thought last night the Mets were really, really a lousy looking ball club. Anyway, Johan Rojas. Yeah, I mean, I think it really jumped out at you last night because it was the first play of the game, right? He drops the ball. I thought there was a little nonchalance there. Then he dropped another one. I know last homestand, there were two balls to center field that I think he overran them. He got to them. He's a burner. He can get to anything. His roots are pretty good. I just think, sometimes he needs to work on securing the ball. And that's something that, veteran infielders work on every day. It's something that Alec Bohm works on every day at third base, securing the ball. Nothing happens unless you secure the ball. And I look at Johan Rojas as a really gifted athlete, gifted defender, who's going to be a good defender, probably going to be a well above average defender. But, he's still a work in progress. He's not just a work in progress offensively. He's a work in progress defensively. He's going to have tough nights. And last night he had a tough night. In a lot of ways, I think last night's two drops, to me, they're a learning experience. They're an opportunity to teach, because you learn so much in sports and in this game from failure. It's how you bounce back from failure. So I think, Paco Figueroa, their outfield coach, has done a great job with Castellanos, and he's done a very good job with all their outfielders, including Rojas. I think he'll go to work on that and use it as a teaching moment and use it as an opportunity to help Johan Rojas play better and be a better defender. Like I said, there's so many great tools. He gets to everything. Now it's just about securing everything. And we've seen a lot of it. He does it quite often, but there's been a few times lately where he hasn't. I am in no way, shape, or form alarmed. I think it's part of the growth process. And, I do think it jumps out at you, though, because it's in the middle of the diamond. Middle of the diamond is really huge. That's where if you're a good team in the middle of the diamond, generally you're a good team. So it can't happen. He has to get better from it. But I'm not alarmed because I just think there's a lot of good there. And I think he's getting better. And I don't think he's even close to a finished product. And I think he has a good support staff in his instructors that are going to help him get better.
So, Jim, it seems like every time we talk recently, it's after Ranger Suarez goes out there and just continues to marvel. And this is true of the whole rotation this year. Even on nights when they don't have their best command or it's wet and slippery, they still battle and grind and give the team a chance to win the game. Now, Ranger Suarez last night, in his last 8 starts, has a 1 ERA, is 8-0, 51 Ks, 9 walks. The only other players in baseball history to do that, Jim, are Clayton Kershaw, Cliff Lee, Johan Santana, Roger Clemens, Bob Gibson, and Juan Marichal.
Wow.
Is that that's real? That's a real stat I just read you, but I almost can't process how dominant Ranger has been.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just been off the charts type of domination. You mentioned Marshall, Gibson, Clemens. I mean, Cliff Lee in his peak years was great. Clayton Kershaw is going to the Hall of Fame. Who else is on there?
The best
Santana?
5-year runs of any pitcher in baseball, like.
Yeah. So yeah, they're great names, and what jumps out at me is the walks. 9 starts, and guy is giving you innings. I mean, he's just pinpoint. 10 walks total. He hasn't walked more than 2 in a game. We've kind of talked about this before. There comes a point in a player's career, a gifted player, when talent and good health and experience and believing you can do it all come together. And that's what we're seeing in this guy. He's having a terrific season. I don't know if this peak wave is going to last, but I expect him to be really good all year.
Yeah.
I expect him to be really good. And I'll be the first to tell you, I was a little worried last night when that mound was getting slick, because wet mounds and wet fields are the enemy of throwing athletes, whether you're a quarterback, shortstop, catcher, and especially a pitcher. They are the enemy, because you rip a groin muscle on your push side and you are histoire, history, for a while. So I was a little worried seeing him on that slick surface. I was even thinking, would I let him even be out there? So thank goodness he made it through. I mean, I'm sure, had a handle on how wet the mound was. It maybe looked worse from my vantage point, but it worked out good, and he's a great one. And the entire starting rotation has been terrific. When you have good starting pitching, you got a chance every night. And that's what we're seeing in this team. They also have a good offense. When you have good starting pitching and a good offense, boom, you can do special things.
It is special. It's a combination of a lot of great performances coming together. And, for as much as we talk about Ranger and the pitching staff, or even on the offensive side, Bryce having a big game last night as well, there's another guy that's been quietly in the shadows, consistently stepping up ever since his name's been called on. That's Edmundo Sosa, who, when you look at, ever since Trey Turner went down, the play that Edmundo Sosa's had, we've seen him get triples, we've seen him get RBIs. I mean, yesterday in his 3 at-bats, he gets an RBI, he gets a hit, he gets a walk, draws a walk, he gets 2 runs scored. He's helping to contribute to this offense. He's doing well fielding as a shortstop wherever needed. Sosa has been playing consistently well and honestly been one of those bright spots that show the depth of this team. Is he playing at a level even better than you expected at this point, of how he's been able to step up? And even without Trey Turner, you're not batting an eye, because Sosa's been delivering day in and day out, it seems like.
Yeah, the proof is in the wins and losses. Again, middle of the diamond player, middle of the diamond position. It's so important to the success of a team. And yeah, frankly, I thought when Turner went down, they would let Sosa play a little bit, because he's been over there, and start working Stott in over there with Whit Merrifield at second base. I thought that would be their kind of the main lineup they would trot out with, sprinkling in Sosa here and there, maybe against the lefty. But he's played the bulk of the time. I think he's been on base 10 straight games. He's getting his 1 or 2 hits a night, getting big hits, driving in runs, playing well defensively, taking some walks, which is something that he usually doesn't do. But he's not taking a ton of them, but he's taking some walks. He's showing some selectivity. He's playing well. And Rob Thompson is rewarding him with playing time, because the object is to win games. And right now he's giving you a great chance to win games, and he's doing that. So he's been terrific. But yeah, I think he's produced more than I expected offensively, and hats off to him. He's earned this extended playing time. They face a lefty again tonight, Thursday. And I expect him to be right back out there.
So Jim, one thing that I don't know if it will or can change, but the Phillies on the base paths kind of remind me of like a beer league men's softball team, where they're
Not that bad. Come on.
Well, I mean that endearingly.
Come on, really? This is a major league team.
Because when I played in our beer league team, we always wanted the other team to make the play. So like they force the hand. They go hard. Like Nick Castellanos last night, JT running through it. I'm joking with the beer league comparison, but they are an aggressive team on the pass. Kyle Schwarber getting picked off at second a couple nights ago. Like there's some really dumb mistakes they make on the base pass. There's no denying that. Is this who they are, or do you think that's something that can improve? Because who they are, I accept it, and I won't complain the rest of the year.
No. There's just a little bit of a difference between a men's beer league softball and major league baseball player.
Just a little one.
Just my personal point of view. Look, I understand your point. They've run into a lot of outs on the bases. They did so at times last year. There were little pockets. There's reasons for it. Concentration, or trying to do too much, trying to be overly aggressive. Not knowing the strengths of what your opponent does well. Can it improve? Absolutely, it can improve. One of their base running mistakes last night was a mix-up with Schwarber and Edmundo, with Dusty holding one and waving the other. Hey, stuff happens. But, yeah, you can't get picked off bases. It's got to improve, and it can improve because every one of these guys are major league players who played for a long time. And, dumb base running kills rallies. And you do it at the wrong time, and it can really undo, if doing the postseason, it can undo a series. It can change a series on a base running mistake.
So on that, Jim, you would know this. Like when they work on it, is that film room work? Is that, because they don't really practice per se a ton. Like, how do they work on something like that?
Well,
I guess
they work on it a lot in spring training, and they will have refresher sessions during the season long before the gates even open at the ballpark. And there will be film work. For instance, that pickoff on Schwarber the other day, up at Citi Field, that was a set play that the Mets ran, and it was good play. They pulled it off. And something like that, you can employ film study to pick up a tendency, to know that they might be bringing that at a certain time in the game with certain personnel on the field. So it's kind of a combination of field work, film work, of talking about it, of concentrating, and learning from failure, learning from mistake. Don't let it happen twice, because sharp teams, championship caliber teams, play well defensively, and they run the bases well. You make that play in the field that other teams don't make. It might be a hit, it might not be an error, but a really good team gets to that ball, doesn't let it hit the grass. They can make that play. A really good team will not make that base running mistake. A really good team will move up when they should on the bases, will take the extra base. A really good team knows how to run the bases technically, in terms of the way you turn on the base, sharp turns, quick turns, not going way off out of the baseline. Kind of your old geometry course about the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So you want to, on the bases, strive for that. But yeah, they've run into a lot of out. It has to be addressed, and I'm sure it is being addressed, because when you run into outs on the bases and when you play sloppy on defense, it can make a coaching staff look bad. It can make a manager look bad. They don't want to look bad. They want to win ball games. They will address it.
Yeah, and something that we have seen addressed has been the overall plate approach. I mean, the patience. We've seen the Phillies do a better job of, drawing walks. We saw that in the game on Tuesday. That would have been third inning. You scored 2 runs in 1 hit, with just 1 hit in the inning, because you're drawing walks. Of course, Bohm gets hit by a pitcher. Yesterday, again, same thing against Joey Lucchesi, who had just 4 1/3 innings pitched, and you got after him. You're getting pitchers deep in the pitch count early. You're attacking them, but also just being patient. The chase rate, the swing rate, all of that is improving. So overall, even bunting from the Phillies we've been seeing. What are your thoughts on how they have been progressing at the plates, where it's not just home run or bust at this point? And I think that's something we've seen a lot in the past. now we're seeing them scoring in a number of ways and just being more patient overall to see what the game dictates and being able to, respond accordingly.
It's funny, Renee, you mentioned home run or bust, and that's something that I hear a lot of. A lot of people pin that on the team, that they don't win if they don't hit home runs. But I've been seeing a lot of victories lately, where the home run is part of it, but it's a complement. It's not like the main character. It's like a supporting character. So, last night, perfect example. Other games, perfect example. They manufacture, they get hit by bases loaded, Bum gets hit by a pitch. Hey, you take whatever you can get. But I've been seeing them score runs a lot of different ways, and it's very encouraging. The approach at the plate is with the eyeballs and with statistics. It's better this year, and hats off to them. They did some shuffling with their hitting coaches, and they stressed the heck out of it in spring training. Don't chase. I mean, obviously, they were eliminated from the NLCS last year by having two terrible offensive games, game 6 and 7, where they chased a lot of pitches, struck out a lot, didn't put the ball in play, just didn't hit. So it kind of stayed with everybody like a big bruise all winter long. But the fact of the matter is they had games like that all season, and they're probably still going through. There's times when they swing and miss. There's times when they chase. There's times when they just look they don't look real good offensively. Runners on scoring position, things like that. They have just minimized those games. We haven't seen many of them, and they have really cut down on their chase. They stressed it a lot in spring training, and I really wondered if they could bring it down, because sometimes the leopard, doesn't change his spots. A player gets to this level, he kind of is what he is. He's a free swinger, this, that. The other thing, you look at a guy like Stott, he's improved his walk rate really nicely. So he's getting better. So, but up and down the lineup, they're getting better. So we're not even at a third of the season yet. We're at like a little over a quarter. So it's not nearly a complete sample size, but it's a good size sample size, and they're clearly moving in the right direction to improve what they saw as a weakness last year, what was a weakness, really moving in the right direction toward improving that and being more of a complete offense.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Jim, for taking time to join us. As always, we appreciate you weighing in on how the Phillies are doing. And it feels like another day of us talking about how great the Phillies have been, but also in all seriousness, how they're making those adjustments and progressions that are needed. So fantastic work. Yeah. Always fun to watch all that you're doing around the coverage of the team. And just thank you again.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. Tonight they go for a 4-game sweep of the Mets, a home and home. That'll be a real accomplishment.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're finally going to see on Monday or Tuesday, I guess it is, a team that's over 500 in the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
So that'll be a little interesting little test for the local 9. But, first things first, you got a big one against the Mets. You got a lefty in Quintana who knows how to pitch, veteran, crafty. And then you got the Washington Nationals, who I think are probably better than a lot of people thought.
Yeah, pesky.
Playing hard.
Yeah.
So should be a fun few days, right?